The art of tag team wrestling is lost on today's current wrestling product, but the WWE has paid homage to the greatest tag teams in history, and they have made a list, a top 50 list that we don't necessarily agree with. But that's what this fun conversation is all about. We here at the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast are going to give you our top tag teams and tell you where WWE went right and where they went wrong. It's all coming up on this old school edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. The bomb drops now. Hello and welcome to this old school Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast here on Sportinarium Radio. If you are not following Sportinarium Radio on social media, what are you waiting for? Make sure you check them out at Sportinarium WW on Twitter and at Sportinarium on Instagram. You can also check us out and them as well, all the other great shows that they have, sportinariumradio.com. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher, and this is your old school Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast that we bring you every single week. And I could not bring it to you every single week without my brother from another mother, the whole podcasting show, and Mr. Old School himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jared Justice is in the house. What's the haps, man?
Just making sure I got that in there. You know, you gotta get your crap in.
What's
going on, dude?
Yeah, man. We can't do this show without you getting your crap in. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
I mean, literally and figuratively, all of things. Anyway, beside the point. So this is the old school edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We are glad that you have joined us, whether you were listening on Sportinarium Radio or you are listening in our archives on YouTube or wherever you find your audio podcasts. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you follow us at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you forget all those things, we got a fancy little ticker down at the bottom of our YouTube show reminding you about that. We're still running our t-shirt giveaway in July. Those instructions are below, and I'm going to hit that later as well. But Jared, what we are here for is WWE's controversial, shall I say, top 50 list of the greatest tag teams in their company's history. Now, that's part of their criteria. They excluded teams that were WCW only, ECW only, that sort of thing, which can really change the list. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. The other criteria that they base this list on is title reigns, the team's longevity, the impact they had on the culture. So overall, when you're looking at that list, let's just cut right to the chase. WWE put New Day at number 1 on this list. And I feel like this is going to be an interesting back and forth. It's going to be an interesting back and forth that you and I are going to have on this. Let's cut right to it. They put the New Day number 1 all time over all their tag teams. They've had 11 title reigns. They've been around, I think, 6, 7, 8 years maybe. So big time cultural impact, obviously. But I think you and I agree that they're not number 1 all time. Why don't you think the New Day belongs at the top of WWE's list?
Man, maybe it's just like a bias that I have because I used to care so much more, whenever you're a kid, I guess. And well, I mean, there's a difference in the product then and now too. But
sure.
as a kid, you see these tag teams like Demolition, like Legion of Doom, Rock and Roll Express, all these guys. And they just seemed bigger than life. And now, with New Day, given I don't care as much, probably because it's geared more towards kids, but I just don't feel like they've had an impact on me. I don't feel like 15 years from now I'm going to be like, hey, you remember the New Day? Man, they were awesome. Let me tell you all the stuff they did.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I think the point that you just made about teams being menacing and teams really having an impact on you, kid or adult, you see the New Day and you want to have a good time. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, a lot of people saw the Bushwhackers and wanted to have a good time too, but I don't think they're the number 1 tag team of all time. You know what I mean?
Nah. Yeah.
So they did make the list at number 50, whatever. But anyway, that's beside the point. Let's talk about a couple other teams that actually made the list, maybe a little higher than they should have. That I want to get your take on where you think they fell. And this is, we're going to dive deep into the top 10 here in just a minute, but this is just, kind of outside of that. Teams like Tito Santana and Rick Martel, Strike Force. They came in the countdown at number 46. I wouldn't have put them on the list at all. The Street Profits came in at number 33, which is interesting. Harper and Rowan, the Bludgeon Brothers, came in at number 31. Here's a fun of those teams that I just named. I see you shaking your head. Do you think they belong on the list? Are they a little further down? What's your instant reaction when I tell you those things?
I mean, I don't. Given it would be hard to sit down, I think, and even think of 50 tag teams. I mean,
that's very true.
But at the same time, the order, it's just I don't know. Most of the teams you just named, I don't think should have even been on the list at all.
All right, well let's go with a couple more then that maybe were ranked lower than they should have been. The Smoking Guns came in the list at number 47. I think
to me they made an impact, man.
Exactly. Yep. DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa came in at number 38. Call me a mark.
Put them higher.
Exactly. Call me a mark, but I think they should be higher. Owen and Bulldog, this is another one that I would have put in the top 20. They came in at number 30.
That's not far off, but yeah,
right?
I mean, that's number 20 at least.
Okay. What about the Undisputed Era? If you combine those four guys, where do you think you put them?
On the edge of top 10?
See, I would think so too, but WWE ranked them at number 20. Here was the most shocking one to me of all of them. Okay, get ready. Right. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, the Generation X. They came in at number 21.
Okay.
Is that right for you, or am I just a big mark of those two guys?
I mean, you think of DX, and yeah, they made a huge impact, but I don't remember. And again, this was maybe during the time period when you watched more so than what I did.
Okay.
I just don't remember those two as a team really doing a whole lot. They shoved Vince's head into Big Show's rear.
Right.
That was impactful.
Right.
And they put that he loved Cox in every way, shape, or form.
Right.
All over everything.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably about right.
Their big run, I'll give you that. Their big run was in the Ruthless Aggression era when you may not have watched as much as I did. That was where they were more known as a tag team, whereas in the Attitude Era, they were just, whatever. Throw whatever up against the wall and see what sticks, not necessarily a tag team.
Right.
So a couple of guys, before we run through the top 10 list, that made the list more than once. And I want to talk about these guys and see which one of them really jump out to you, because a couple of them don't stand out to me as tag team wrestlers. They're more singles wrestlers, but they have clearly made an impact in the tag team division. The British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, made the list more than once. He made it with Owen, and he made it with Dynamite Kid as the British Bulldogs.
Ooh.
Shawn Michaels made the list more than once with Triple H, and of course with Marty Jannetty as the Rockers. John Morrison made the list more than once with Eminem. That's him and Joey Mercury and Melina, and then with him and The Miz. And the man that made the list the most was Kane. He made the list with Kane and X-Pac, Kane and Daniel Bryan, and of course, Kane and The Undertaker. So all four of those guys really, man, made an impact as a singles wrestler, but by this list are well known as a tag team wrestler. Of those teams that, those guys that have been on there more than once, does any of them jump out to you as surprising?
Honestly, man, no. I guess not really. But here's the thing: is kind of, I think maybe what you're saying in a roundabout way is, whenever I first think of, okay, let's make a list, and let's put tag teams. I think of tag team names.
Yes.
going back to LOD, the
Yes.
Nasties, the Bushwhackers, the Hart Foundation, those type. My mind doesn't immediately even go to the Brothers of Destruction,
Right.
but at least they did have a tag team name.
Right.
You know, Kane and X-Pac, they were just Kane and X-Pac. And so my mind doesn't really go that way whenever I first think of let's make a list of all the best tag teams.
Right. Kane and X-Pac came in the list in the 30s, I'm pretty sure, which I think is a little bit high, but that's just me. Okay, let's get to the top 10 because this is going to be a fun debate. I know you're going to rip this apart, as am I. So here we go. This is WWE's top 10 tag teams in their company's history. All right, here we go. Actually, I'm going to put us both on the screen here because I want to see your reaction and I want the people to see your reaction. Because full disclosure, folks, I don't think Jared has seen this list in its entirety.
No, I have not.
Okay, so I want to see your reaction. Here we go.
Okay.
The number 10 tag team is the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid. Number 9, the Brothers of Destruction, The Undertaker and Kane. I know, me too. Number 8, the New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg. Number 7, Jimmy and Jay Uso.
Oof.
Number 6, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal.
Okay.
Number 5, Bubba and Devon, the Dudley Boys.
Okay, fair enough.
They're 18-time tag team champions, which I didn't realize. So
yeah, I think they're the most, aren't they? I mean, I don't think.
Yes, they are the highest.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Number 4, Edge and Christian. Number 3, Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Hart Foundation.
Oof. Okay.
Number 2, Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. And number 1, the New Day. I just read those 10 off. What's your gut reaction?
I don't know that I would have made that list in that order. New Day gone. They wouldn't have even been on there.
Okay.
But the other teams that you mentioned, well, Brothers of Destruction, I don't think should have been on there.
Okay.
But the other teams you mentioned, I think, are very valid candidates.
Sure.
I just don't think I would have put them in that order.
In this list, in this top 10 list, let's say you're not putting them in that order and you're excluding a couple of them, as you just mentioned, New Day, Brothers of Destruction. Do all of these teams in some roundabout way? Because remember, here's some teams that we're forgetting. I'll just throw out some names here. Okay. We're forgetting Demolition. We're forgetting the Rockers, the Steiner brothers. We're forgetting about
Steiner should have been up there.
We're forgetting about the brothers. We're forgetting about the Undisputed Era. We're forgetting about Farouk and Bradshaw. We're forgetting about Eddie and Chavo Guerrero, the Mega Powers. I mean, all these teams we're forgetting about. So the 10 teams that WWE listed, would they easily be in your top 20? If you were making your own top 20 list, would they all be there?
With those exceptions that I made.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you don't have much gripe about the top 10, do you?
Man, I honestly thought that they would mess it up a whole lot worse than that. But like I said, I'm not surprised some of the ones that were on there.
Yep.
But I just don't think they should have been in that order. And New Day is number 1. Blows my mind.
Okay.
Blows my mind.
So if you're putting together a list of the top tag teams, let's not talk about WCW and ECW. We're going to get there. If you're putting together a list of the top tag teams, I read off WWE's criteria, and we're sitting here saying, okay, this team doesn't belong, that team belongs, whatever. The criteria that WWE used, longevity, title reigns, cultural impact, is that kind of what you would base your criteria on as well? Or I know you mentioned menacing earlier. Is there other things maybe that you think they left out, characteristics that they should have put in? Because like for me, I'm thinking like chemistry in the ring. I'm thinking like double team moves. I'm thinking like old school cutting the ring off tag team wrestling. You mentioned tag team names. Is there anything we're leaving out that you would consider?
I'm trying to think here, man. If you're just going to do WWF teams, I don't know cultural impact. The New Day did make a cultural impact. Yep. And I think you could even make the argument that Legion of Doom did.
100% they did. Yep.
You know, it was that biker mentality. I mean, they rode motorcycles to the ring. You saw the kids with the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
They just made a statement. But other than that, I don't think any of them even had a cultural impact. I mean, the Mega Powers.
Well,
if you want to say a team that did, maybe, but
let me sort of redefine cultural impact, and this is the way that I'm understanding it. A cultural impact on the fans, as in when that team's music hits, people lose their mind.
That's LOD number one.
That's LOD for sure, right there.
LOD pop.
I'm thinking like, okay, what impact? Let's take, for example, Edge and Christian. Okay. They were well known for their comedy and for their 5-second poses. Well, everybody got a kick out of that, and everybody loved that. So a big staple like that, I think that's where they're going with cultural impact. Dudley Boys, everybody, did the 3D thing. Everybody yelled, "Get the tables." So these teams had something that captured maybe not necessarily the outside mainstream world, but captured the WWE universe.
Okay. I mean, we can define it like that, I guess. I mean, probably Taker and Kane. I think they had a huge impact.
I think that is too.
Edge and Christian, they made a huge like the gothic look.
Sure.
They kind of made a statement to society of here's this goth look, whatever that means to everybody out there. We're making a statement. We're being rebels. So that's kind of the way I would look at it and think of it.
Speaking of Edge and Christian, we mentioned the Dudley Boys. Obviously, the Hardy Boys, Team Extreme. Everybody loved them. Nobody had seen anything like them at all. I know it's not necessarily a rule or it's not allowed, but I'm going to make it a rule if I'm creating my own list. And that is that I feel like that the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian should share a spot. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, they definitely made each other famous and kind of like almost leached off of each other to get bigger and badder. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would make sense. It just irks me because in my head I keep thinking Freebirds.
Yep.
And you can't even put them on the list. Right. So I think
we're going to put them on
one shot with WWE and they screwed it up.
Yep, so. They did. And we're going to put them on our list here in just a minute. But so with the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys, the reason that I bring that up is you said it. They made each other famous. To me, you can't have one of those teams without the other two. Like the Dudleys wouldn't be near. Now they had great ECW run, but their WWE run wouldn't be nearly what it was without the Hardys and Edge and Christian. Exactly. Hardys, I mean, they had the first ever tag team ladder match. Who were they across the ring from? Edge and Christian.
Yep.
So Edge wouldn't be one of the greatest of all time had he not started in that tag team and been put on the map by those guys. That iconic highlight of him giving Jeff Hardy a spear at WrestleMania 17, I mean, it made the guy's career, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't know who else that you would have put those guys with. Basically, just like you said, that they could have worked with to produce the magic that they were able to produce. So therefore, they would have never got to the spot on the ladder that they ended up at.
Well, ladder, no pun intended, right? I get it. That's funny. But no, and also to add to that, be willing to do the things that they were willing to do to put their body, everything on the line.
Almost kill each other.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So before we make our combined list, because we've already established that WWE's list is pretty good. It's not that bad, but I would make some changes, and I think you would too. Exactly. Before we do that, let's consider the other tag teams. You mentioned the Freebirds. There's so many WCW tag teams, ECW, all that kind of stuff that have not been considered. I mean, you can throw AEW teams in there if you want.
Yeah.
If you're making a list of a quick top 5, it doesn't have to be in any particular order, because I realize I'm putting some pressure on you by that. If you are making a list of the top 5 teams outside of WWE, so we're talking all of WCW history, all of ECW history, all of AEW, whatever.
Okay.
If you're making a quick top 5 list, who do you got?
Freebirds.
Okay.
Any combination of the Four Horsemen.
Okay.
Luger and Sting.
Oh, I like that.
Now here it gets a little rough. I would say Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
And I would say the Bucks.
Come on. Don't do it. No.
The Bucks. Yes.
If you were putting together an all-time top 5, you're putting the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks on there?
I am.
Well, here, let me give you mine. Okay. Because 2 of the 5 you had right, and you're going to be kicking yourself whenever I tell you these teams that I know you've forgotten. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Any combination of the Four Horsemen, I 1000% agree they're number 1 on my list.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. They're going to be on my list. A tie for a spot, because again, like the Dudleys, Hardys, and Edge and Christian, I don't think you can have one of these teams without the other. And I'm talking about the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
To me, they share a spot. You can't, and they have to belong in the top. They have to.
That's true. Yeah. Can't argue
then,
that.
I'm going Fabulous Freebirds after that, because 100% agree with you. Then I'm going Harlem Heat.
Okay. I mean, I know you're wanting to get more of a rise out of me here, but I don't disagree with your list either. But it's not that I didn't think of those teams. It's just that I still, with the exception of Rock and Roll and Midnight, I would still keep my same teams even with the teams you just listed.
I mean, I totally understand where you come from. You talk about cultural impact. I hate to, man, golly, mark it down. 7:50 p.m. Central Time. We're recording this on July the 14th. The Young Bucks have made arguably the biggest cultural impact in history. I mean, nobody can argue that. You just can't, because not only their merchandising, the way that they by themselves have become entrepreneurs and put themselves on the map. Take AEW out of the picture. Look what those guys have done with pop culture.
Yeah.
As bad as I don't like them, I mean, you got to put them in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are fun to watch. And I think they're great. And I think that they made, just like what you said, a huge impact. This fast, no-selling style that we have, as big of a detriment as I'm sure Jim Cornette would say that it is to the business, that's impact. That's where we are today.
It is.
And that's because of the Bucks.
It is because of the Bucks. You're exactly right. Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Here we go. I said we were going to do this. We're going to compile our top 10 list. Okay. And if you don't want to compile it in top 10 order, that's fine. Give me you just gave me your 5 outside of WWE. Now, if you're going to combine WWE and all the things, you're going to put together 10 tag teams.
Okay.
And I'll start. Okay.
Okay.
I'll start that way that the pressure's not on you as much. All right.
Oh, this is a change.
Hey, listen at you. All right. I'll start. Here we go. My top 10 tag teams, and I do have them in order. Okay. I'm going to go number 10. I'm going to go the Young Bucks. Send your hate tweets to @ChrisBelcher24. I know I'm going to get a text from my dad as soon as he hears this. So, number 10 is the Young Bucks. Number 9, I'm going to take the New Age Outlaws.
Okay.
Number 8, the Rockers. Number 7, Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Number 6 is a tie between Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys. This is my list, and I say they tie. Number 5 is Demolition. Number 4 is, of course, the Four Horsemen. Number 3 is the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. Number 2 is the Hart Foundation. Number 1 are the Road Warriors. That's my list.
Okay.
It's not too far off of what WWE had. I'm a big Uso fan, but I just don't think they belong in the top 10.
Okay.
Brothers of Destruction, again, we mentioned it. We both love Undertaker and Kane till the cows come home, but I just don't think they're top 10.
Right.
All right.
So I'm going to pretty much start at my number 1 and then work my way down.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'll try to keep these in order the best that I can. And I'm sure arguments can be made that I should have tweaked this. Number 1, Legion of Doom, Road Warriors.
Hands down.
Okay. Number 2, the tag team who pretty much brought about using wrestling theme songs. That's how we got to where we're at today. Fabulous Freebirds.
There you go.
Number 3, I'm going Horseman.
Okay.
4, Demolition. 5, Hart Foundation. 6, I'll just go ahead and say, well, I'll say, I'm going to say Rock and Roll Express, followed by Midnight Express.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say the Rockers. And then I'm going to say Bucks. And then I'm going to say The Rock and Sock Connection.
All right. I can dig that. See, I mean, all these lists obviously are subjective, right? Right. I think you should have included the Dudleys, Edge of Christian, and the Hardys in your list. It's fine, you know. Man, it's so subjective, but I don't know. It's like I grew up and you grew up on good, solid tag team wrestling, and we think so fondly of those teams. So
a lot of those teams never broke up. Their entire career was spent either with the same person or the same couple people. And
except
so
Shawn and Marty.
Okay. And I think that those are a lot of the ones that we remember. And you just said Shawn and Marty. I think that was the start of breaking teams up and picking, hey, this guy's better than the other one. Let's push him. And this other guy would just, shove him to the side.
Yep. Let's talk about just a couple of teams really quick that didn't make our top 10 list.
Okay.
And let's analyze why. The first team, obviously, that comes to mind is Hogan and Macho, the Mega Powers. Why do you think that team, now, WWE put them at number 13. Would you put them in your top 20? Why didn't they make your top 10?
It just goes back to they were both huge singles wrestlers to the point that you think of their career and you don't have to think of anybody else. It's just them you think of. Yeah. And so that's why that, my mind doesn't even go there.
Yeah, I agree. Steiner Brothers didn't make either of our top 10 lists.
I probably would have weaseled them in if I had thought about them. But whenever I was going through my list, for some reason, they just didn't pop in my brain. Another one is the Head Shrinkers.
Yeah.
I mean, they were great.
Yeah.
What were they called? Wild Samoans.
Wild Samoans in WCW. Yeah.
Samoan SWAT team.
That's it. Wild Samoans were different. Wild Samoans were Alpha and Sika. That's Roman's dad and uncle, I think. Let's see. I'm trying to scan through the list and see if I can figure out where they made the list. I know they were on there. Anyway, beside the point. Wild Samoans, 15. Sorry. There they are. The Usos. They made WWE's top 10. You and I are big fans of the Usos, me more so than you. Why do you think they're not in the top 10?
I think that it's still, I think in everybody's minds, everybody thinks that one of those two is going to break out. And it's most likely going to be Jay because Jimmy keeps getting arrested over and over and over and over.
Poor guy.
And they just still seem so young. They don't seem like they're even close to the end of their career. They still have so much more they can offer. And so I just think that everybody's mind goes to, they really haven't earned their spot there yet. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think it's been long enough. Sure, they've had a lot of runs with the titles and that kind of stuff, but I don't think they've had a long enough run. All right, man. Golly, anything else you want to add on this tag team thing? I mean, obviously, again, it's so subjective, but here on the show, we just like to share our opinions, and WWE didn't screw it up as bad as we thought they did.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I don't even know how you would word this rule, but I think that maybe a tag team should have been together for so long to make the list, and that they should have had a team name to make the list. And I think if you added those criterias, that maybe even our list would be completely different. That is, I mean, that's the type of list that I would have tried to produce instead of just kind of, we're just going to include WWE and it has to do this, 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 and this, and we're going to put our new people who are still wrestling up here at incredible levels they don't deserve to be on just because we're trying to push them. The push.
All right, Jim Ross. Oh gosh. All right, man. Well, I mean that kind of does it for this episode. We just wanted to kind of, jump in on the conversation, and I think they were using hashtag WWE 50 greatest tag teams. So the Pie Bomb Wrestling Podcast, we just want to share our opinions. We just wanted to make it known that we value tag team wrestling and we love tag team wrestling, and we want to reminisce about some of our favorite teams that made the list or didn't make the list. Real quick before we wrap up, I meant to address this with you. One team that didn't make the list that obviously I'm biased towards, and I want to get your thoughts on.
The Nasty Boys.
No, they made the list. They were number 41. They made a list of 41. Team that didn't make the list at all. Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Ooh. Well, they weren't really together that long, but you do, when you look back at history, and again, we were young, so these are the ones that really made impressions on us.
That's true.
Maybe people now, a lot of people now, they're not going to have the time to go back and watch the way that these wrestlers were built coming up and the impacts that they made. And so that completely makes our opinions different than theirs.
That's true.
If any of that makes sense. But whenever I think back, I do agree, Diesel and Shawn, I would have put them on there.
I think so. I mean, there are some teams on there that, I mentioned earlier, Strike Force. Like, Strike Force, Shawn and Diesel. Sorry. Bushwhackers, Shawn and Diesel. Sorry.
Dum. Oh!
I'm sorry.
Dunza.
Like, Paul London and Brian Kendrick, Shawn and Diesel.
Right.
Come on. Like, they could have at least cracked the top 40. I mean, I don't know. I'm a mark, but to me, they had a really long run as tag team champions. I just feel like that they belonged on the list. But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. For those of you who are just now checking us out, this is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We hope you have enjoyed our fun little debate here back and forth. Make sure you subscribe at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And make sure that you hop on over to YouTube, where we are running our July t-shirt giveaway. Here's how you enter the contest. Get ready. Step number 1, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That's all you got to do. All right. Step number 2, take a screenshot, proof of your subscription. All right. So all you got to do, click it. And then when it says subscribed with a D, take a screenshot of that. All right. Step 3, choose the social media platform of your choice, share that screenshot, and tag us in it. Guess what? that enters you in the contest. That's all you got to do. At the end of July, we are going to give away a free Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast t-shirt. Might even look something like this one. So make sure you check us out. But for those of you who are already subscribed to us, you are not out of the running. All right. What you got to do is share the link to your favorite episode of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast on whatever social media platform you want. Tag us. That gets you entered into the contest as well. Make sure you tag us. All right. So do those things. And Jared, they're going to win a free t-shirt. I think it's a good deal. I think people need to jump on the train and give us some love. Shoot us some feedback. Let us know who your top 50 tag teams are, right?
Exactly. And I was just talking to one of my buddies at the gym today, telling him about the podcast and everything. And he said, you know what, man? He said, go ahead and sign me up. He said, I've never listened to your show, but it sounds like a great show. It sounds like a great movement that you all are trying to make. You're making waves, getting out there to more people. He said, you know what, man? I'll support that. He said, go ahead, give me the website and put me down. And I said, all right, man, I'll get it to you. So you all that listen, love the show. I mean, this guy hasn't even listened and he's buying the shirt.
That's right. So there you go. So listen, jump on the train. The train is leaving the station. Better make sure that you are on. For those of you who are listening on Sportinarium Radio, we appreciate your support as well. Thank you very much. Make sure you're giving us a follow. Make sure that you enter our social media contest. Make sure you listen every Monday and every Thursday when we drop brand new content. We talk old school. We talk new school. There is something for everybody here on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. My brother from another mother, Jared Justice, giving the old Larry Sabisco wave. Man, anything else you want to add before we put a bow on this?
No, I'm shocked that we actually agreed with WWE as much as what we did.
I know.
I really am. So,
it is definitely a surprise for sure. He is
it's kind of like my dad says, even the blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit. He is at JWJust01 on the Instagram. Give him a follow. That's my brother from another mother, Jared Justice. I am at Chris Belcher24 on Twitter and on Instagram. Make sure that you give us a follow. The show is at PBW Podcast, wherever you can find us on social media. This is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We'll catch you guys down the road.